Hello, welcome in. It is election night here in America, Tuesday, November 5th. I will be giving you all election updates as we go. Cinderella, welcome to the family. Welcome in, everyone. Let me know that you can hear me, please. I was having some difficulty, but I think I got it taken care of. Welcome in. Let me see, Michelle Reed, hi, Becky Laux, hello, Brat, Christy Mattingly, Crazy Daisy, aka Vicky, Cinderella, and again, welcome to the family. Hi, Jennifer Benners. Uh-oh, I was a minute tardy, so, right? I'm glad you're here. I'm gonna have to get some tardy slips and sign it teach. Oh, see, mine says having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I did just get an alert and it says having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection. So if I go out, it's not that I hung up on y'all. Tam here. Hello, Candace B. Brat. Sam R. Hi. Brenda. Christy Mattingly. Michelle Reed. Victoria, hello, how are you? You all are so sweet. I'm reading what you're saying about me in the comments, and that really means the world to me. Hi, Jennifer Benners. Victoria, hello. Jenny Mount, good to see you. You know, we haven't seen Capital Productions lately. I hope all is well there. And Wilted Lettuce. Rita Ledford. Hi, Misty. Thank you for being here. And Grandma, thank you for being here. I am going to let you all know just throughout where we're at in the elections. I'm watching it right now. And let's not, this is a true crime channel. I'm just letting you know because this is going on in the United States of America. But let's not talk politics in the chat, okay? I know that I hope everyone voted. I don't care who you voted for, but I'm just giving you the information. So let's stay cool. We're really a great community. I love the way everyone is so friendly to each other. So right now, what is happening is we have Trump 101 electoral votes, Harris 49. Harris has taken Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, and Maryland. Trump has taken Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And Harris is in the lead in Kansas, Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Trump is in the lead in North Dakota, Missouri. I hope I didn't say he won that one. Missouri and Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, and Ohio. So there we go, friends. I might have said that wrong. Did I say that wrong? Did I read that wrong? So hello, everyone. Hello. Hi, lovely Shadow. Yeah, that tardy slip is for me. I usually get it right there, but I had to run and grab myself a soda and a glass of water. Oh, I'm so glad to have you here, Christy. Thank you for saying that. You all have been so kind. Hi, Ginger Girl. All my mods who are in here, Misty, Ginger, and Grandma, thank you for being here. Hello, Lone Wolf Spirit. Yes, this is going to be traumatic. Thank you for saying that. For anyone, this is hard to watch. I did. Hi, welcome from North Carolina to North Carolina. Hi, Candy, for you. Candy, did your shirt arrive? It had told me it was going to arrive yesterday or today. This is, oh, he gave me a shout out today. Oh, awesome. I haven't had a chance to watch him. I watched half of his and Car Guy out at 2727 location. I will go. Thanks for letting me know. I love silvers. They're so amazing. But welcome to absolutely everyone. As you know, We had good news yesterday while we were live that they had leads. Hi, Robin. Hey, Robin, I wanted to thank you for always sharing the videos. You said I got famous on Facebook yesterday, and I'm sure it was because of you, and I want to thank you so much. Yeah, this is a very sad video. I've only watched it once because it's hard to watch. So I thought it would be good to watch as a family, especially hi Ida Anthony. Well, hello. You're from Emmett. Okay. Good. Hello. Good evening. Hi, Mickey Shell. So good to have everyone in here. So I thought it would be good for us to go back and do some looking, but they announced that yesterday about Oregon and New York that they indeed had what they considered very strong. Hi, hindsight. Welcome in, couponing. Very strong leads in Oregon and New York. And today it was announced, if you didn't see my little video that I put out during lunch, it was announced that it is confirmed that they have two people connected to the investigation in Oregon. And that is just such good news. Such good news. I mean, I was so excited when I heard that. Several of you emailed me, you were in tears, and I get it. I really get it because it's just, I'm going to read it to you. Oh, it wasn't from Dog, excuse me. It was from, remember, oh, At Night. That's right. It is from At Night Investigations. And I will read it to you as soon as I find it. So welcome in everyone. Sorry, I'm searching for the post. I read it earlier on a video and I don't know where it is right now, but I will find it for you. Welcome into everyone. Chat with them amongst yourselves while I look for the post for you. Okay. Here you go, friends. So I have the post I want to read to you. It's from At Night Intelligence Agency on X, and it's bouncing off of their message. Yes, please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the thumbs up of yesterday that they had sources out there that they felt were very valid in Oregon and in New York. And now, today, posted, or one day ago, it says, after reviewing a tip deemed credible and originating from Oregon, we have expedited our efforts to thoroughly investigate this lead. We have confirmed the presence of at least two individuals in Oregon connected to the investigation, who will remain unnamed at this time. Whoa. Okay. What are you thinking? I mean, so two people connected, that could mean two witnesses, that could mean two suspects. We know there is an alleged eyewitness out there if that's one of the people they've confirmed. It could be someone with knowledge, two people. It could be some people who assisted. Okay. And we allegedly, from the records request we were sent, thank you, Cece, it was that they were spotted. The Stepfoot and KP were spotted at Ford's Pond in Sutherland, Oregon. And two gray haired people were with them who claimed to be from Seattle, Washington. And this occurred in March, sometime in the first few weeks. So, are we getting closer? We need to bring him home. That's what I want to say all the time now. Bring him home. I want to thank all of you for being here. Any opinions I give are just that, opinions. Theories are theories. Speculation is speculation. They are not facts. This is for entertainment purposes only. No one is being accused. What I say is alleged. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, what does everyone think? Hopes up? You hopeful today? We're going to get to the video in real quick because it is kind of long. It is going to be credit to another channel. Let me get the name so we can, mods, if you wouldn't mind dropping the link. One moment. Let me get the name of the channel. Missing in Plain Sight. Missing in Plain Sight. Excuse me. You know, I've heard there's a lot of private schools. Um, there's a lot of hope, friends. It doesn't necessarily mean, no one's told us differently than to hope. Okay. He could be Sebastian, allegedly, who was reported missing February 26th, last seen February 25th, is 15 years old, will be 16 December 7th. He could be so many different places, but we haven't seen any proof otherwise than, you know, he's still with us, and that's what they're looking for. So we're going to hang on that hope. Thank you, June. I love that. We're going to hang on that hope and until we're told differently. But they were located out at a park with a pond, and so we'll see what comes of it. They're moving fast. They're moving fast. And I like to hear they're moving fast, right? I like to hear it. So Sebastian deserves, finally. I know the locals are talking. Absolutely. Robin, did you hear the neighbors are talking now? Talking to law enforcement? So I know the locals are talking because a lot of locals are communicating with me, information that they know, have, heard, seen, etc. And I just, right now, I'm just leaving it where I have it because I don't think now is the time to discuss it. I think we did a lot bringing out that Oregon out again. And we all have hope. It's paying off. And we are going to tonight, I guess it's going to come down to, when we talk about means, opportunity, and motive. Remember the means when we did the 3-mode model, and the means is the ability, the capability, the ability to have that role, to be in that role, those skill sets, and that kind of activity, And so I thought, it's heartbreaking. It's actually unbelievable. Hi, Mary Harris. It's actually Allie. Hello. Hello, everyone coming in while I'm rambling on and on and on. Hi, Brat. Mama Risa, love the name. Hello. Angie Best. Tam here. Lori. It's so good to see all of you. I really, Robin, I so hope so. I really felt like when that RICO came out, and remember we read the RICO 8 hours in the weekend, and we had a good time, to being together reading that. And we talked about the fact that it might make people feel comfortable that the hate and the threats are being handled by some high up there people, right? And so we hoped so. Jen Coffindaffer thought that the reward, the first $50,000 reward, and she's a retired FBI agent, in her opinion, they were trying to entice someone because they knew or believed someone else knew something other than the people involved. So thank you, Ginger Girl. Thank you, Grandma. So a lot has been moving. A lot. The locals are talking. I hope the neighbors are talking, Robin. I hope they're talking to the right people. Yes, his 16th birthday is next month. They are not happy, Robin, with how it's been going. Yes. Thank you, Ginger Girl, for posting Missing in Plain Sight. Hit that like button. Thank you, Jennifer Benners. Thank you, everyone. You are so good to me and so complimentary about the channel. Thank you so much. Yes, Lone Wolf Spirit. March 5th was the next scheduled custody court case. And I've been looking at some information regarding that was sent to me, and I just haven't had time to delve into it. But I'll let you know if there's anything to share. I hope it's a big break. I do too, Becky. It's been, for Seth, I can't even imagine. I did not realize he was in the chat the other night, so I did not welcome him. For those of you who did, thank you. I was behind on my comments, and I apologize to all of you in a post below afterwards because I got behind and I didn't get to read everything. Hi, Jolie. Hi, Karen. Hey, you all ready? Get your snacks. You set? Hi, Barb. Because it is about 2 hours long. I chose to watch it through this channel, Missing in Plain Sight, because she didn't have there's no commentary. And so we're able to watch it. I will be stopping it for commentary, criticism, and education uses under the Fair Use Act. So I will be stopping it for that reason. Welcome into absolutely every one of you, my mods, my members, my visitors, my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy our community, we're drama-free, we're friendly, and we stick to it. Let's get started. Are you ready? Okay. Let's get to it. Trigger again. It is heartbreaking, but I think it goes back to means. Comparing to what she is saying with what we're hearing right now, what we're thinking, what we're alleging, would it be capable? Is there capability in this story? Now, remember, it's one side. This is Nina's side, okay? We always say 3 sides, Nina's, Chris's, and then the truth. So this is Nina's side of the story. I believe her. It's my opinion. You don't have to believe her. I want you to listen and then just think, could any of this be a pattern that occurred in the case of Sebastian? That's why we're looking at this. Clues for Sebastian. Capability, okay? The means. So let's go ahead. Full credit to Missing in Plain Sight. My mom's calling. Okay, you all ready? I'm about to hit play and I will come right over. Oh, June, you are so sweet. Thank you. June has gifted a Crime Time Buzz membership. We had a zinger of a members live last weekend. We are going to have another one this weekend, by the way. I appreciate all your support. You're willing to want to be members, so I'd like to interact with you on the weekends, and we're going to do another one this weekend, okay? Thank you so much, June. If you receive a Crime Time Buzz membership, please thank June. Hi, Mama Dukes, 5160. Okie dokes. Okay. Here we go. Thank you all for being here. Let me make sure the volume's up as high as it will go.
That we should in the beginning. And we fail to know.
Sorry.
I met Christopher back when I was 35 years old. I met him on a dating website. Don't know what I was doing there, I guess. I wish I could take it back. I started talking to him. He was stationed out in San Diego, and we started talking back and forth. Started wanted to get to know him a little bit more. I thought he was a great person in the beginning. But everybody is always perfect in the beginning, right? We fail to see the red flags, and we fail to notice things that we should in the beginning. So he made a couple of trips out here, asked me to marry him, and I made the mistake by saying I do. So we got married. Eventually, we moved to San Diego. I wasn't really ever prepared to move away again from New Mexico. I had went through a divorce a couple years prior to meeting Christopher. And my first husband was military as well, but I was married to him for 9.5 to 10 years, almost 10 years. We made it. He's the father of my other 2 children. And I told him that, I was remarrying and we were moving to San Diego. And he wasn't really for it. He was kind of against it due to the fact that he was stationed out at Fort Bliss, which is in El Paso, Texas. And that's about like 3.5 hours from Albuquerque. So he would always see his kids like every weekend. And he's like, how am I going to see my kids? And I said, well, we'll figure it out. So we packed up after we said I do. I don't remember the exact date when I got married to Christopher, and maybe that's a good thing. We moved into the naval housing out there, and my son, Noah, was 3 at the time, and my oldest was about 7 years old. And she was telling me 7. So I thought everything was great in the beginning. I mean, everything's always perfect, like I said. And then I started seeing bits and pieces of how Christopher really was. I was a stay-at-home wife. Due to my son being so young, I wanted to, enjoy those years with him. Then my daughter went to school right down the street. So I was home every single day. And it just started seeing like Christopher change like night and day. It was awkward. I felt really uncomfortable after a while. We would argue about just the smallest things. And a lot of it also had to do with how he disciplined my children. I'm very protective over my kids. And I didn't want somebody else to discipline my children. I didn't want him talking ugly to them or hurting their feelings. And I remember one point in time where Christopher spanked my son really hard, and I got very upset with him, and I said, you can't do that to my son. I said, he's 3, he's a baby still. Like, you can't just do whatever you want. I mean, and he got upset, and he's like, well, he needs to learn. He needs to man up. He's a man. I said, he's 3. He's 3. And as time went on, like, I could see him getting more aggressive and more aggressive. And I stood up for my kids all the time. I didn't like how he talked to them, how he wanted them to stand in the corner all the time. And I didn't like that. So I stayed a little bit longer. I ended
Okay, right there, everyone. That's just heartbreaking. And I see your comments, and I just want to come in. Hello to everyone who's coming in and saying hello to me. Hello, hello. You know, the one thing that I pull from this, hi, Shelly NB. Hi, Blue Bella. One thing I pull from this right away is she says that she doesn't want him disciplining her kids, talking ugly to them, hurting their feelings, putting them in the corner all the time. He spanked the 3-year-old boy real hard and said he needed to man up. But what I'm seeing is Nina stood up for her kids. You know, did someone stand up for Sebastian? Right? So, hi, Butterfly Kisses, everyone, Karen Powers, everyone in here. Thank you so much for being here, Rod Miller Rickson. Hi, Jazz, welcome back in. I'm glad you came back. Crystal, hello, Angie Best. Sheila Upton, great to have all of you. We are going backwards. I call it, instead of a flashback, a buzz back. So I was thinking the absolute same thing, Microdot. And that's why it's so good to go back, right? I wouldn't have connected that. I didn't connect that statement to the Elijah Vu case. But if you think about it, that's how he was treated. He was sent to boot camp to learn to be a man at 3. Yeah, I pray not. I pray not. I'm talking to Robin here. I pray absolutely not. So, hi 5D. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are listening to what I call the Nina file. I think it's important. We're going back and, first thing, Nina stood up. Who stood up for Sebastian in the house? Who knew what was going on? I'm trying to do better today about seeing your comments too. Oh, he used to tell Sebastian he has to be a man, Crazy Daisy. Man up. Oh, Yada, welcome in. Good to see you. I saw your email and I don't think I've gotten back to it yet, but I shall. To all of you who emailed me in the last day, I will get to you, and to the comments. You're so kind. Someone, especially, you commented me and said you live, or commented or emailed, you live in Tennessee. What could you do to help? You're willing to do anything. You all are so amazing. Someone already sent flyers out to the area in Oregon from our community. I know that another person said, based on HIPAA laws, we can't ask. They won't be able to tell us if Sebastian's in one of those residential homes or something, but we can send a flyer, right? And if they see him there, then they can act accordingly. So right now we know that they're moving fast in Oregon as well. So my goodness, friend, does that mean they were there? Thank goodness she said something. See something, say something, even if what if she had said, well, that was back in March, now it's June, I'd look sillier, I'm not going to get involved. What if, right? She had said that. Instead, she was so certain she went to the police department. And even if it was nothing, that's what we need to do. And I'm so appreciative. Hi, Valerie Neal. We're going to get back to it, or Jay will just gab your ear off. I will give you a quick turn it on right now. And after this next few minutes, I will give you an election update.
ended up eventually getting pregnant with Faith. And it was probably, I want to say, maybe early September that I found out that I was pregnant with Faith. And I remember telling him that I was pregnant, and he wasn't happy about it. So I called my parents back home here in Albuquerque, and I told them the situation. And I said, well, Christopher wants me to get an abortion with Faith. And my parents said, no, you're not. And I said, I'm not. So I know he was very upset about me keeping Faith at that point in time.
Sorry, I was talking with my microphone on or muted. I just stopped it for those who came in who are not familiar with who is speaking. My apologies. This is Nina, the ex-wife of CP Stepfoot. I call him Stepfoot for those of you who've inquired. I was muted. Yes, Grandma, thank you. And she shares a child with CP Stepfoot. And she is explaining her experience. And it's heart-wrenching. It's triggering for many if you've experienced trauma, and it's just hard to watch in general. So thank you so much for being here, for coming in. I'm really sorry that I did not get to you. Yes, Yada, I know. I know, Yada. And I wanted to make Crazy Daisy, you just being here every day for Sebastian like you are is amazing. Everyone does what they can, and we'll be praying for you, by the way. We will be praying for you. So let's get back to it. Sorry to bother you guys. Keep coming in.
So I came home. My grandma had gotten very sick, and I decided to come home. And after that, I just kind of stayed here in New Mexico, because at that time we weren't getting along, and we were just like newlyweds, and that should have never happened. But I saw things, like I said, that were just it wasn't right about him. So I moved home, and I did my whole pregnancy by myself. And so I finally, my friends back there in California, my neighbors right across the street were actually calling me. I had one good friend, which is still a really good friend of mine to this day. She called me and said, Nina, Christopher's getting rid of your furniture and getting rid of your stuff. And I was like, what? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, he's giving away like your little, your home decor stuff. Like he's giving away beds. And I was like, no way. So, and this was about Easter time. So I had went out there. I made a special trip. I asked my mom to go with me, and Isabella and Noah, they went with me. And I was still pregnant with Faith at the time. So we made it. I didn't tell him that we were going out there. So I kind of, wanted to see myself, because the neighbor also informed me that there was people at the house that shouldn't have been there. So I guess I kind of wanted to sneak up on him and see what he was doing, right? And we pulled up into the driveway, into the driveway, and he was coming out the front door with a bed that he was giving to the neighbor, which was my son's bed. And the look on his face was like a deer in headlights. And he dropped the bed right there in the front yard, went back in the front door, slammed the door and locked it on my kids. And my mom told me at that point, she said, I can't believe he's doing this. Like, what is he doing? So I go in and I unlock the door and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Are you giving away my stuff?" And he had nothing to say. So he brought the bed back in because I knew that's what he was doing. And, the neighbor across the street, like I said, told me. So we stayed there. It was super uncomfortable. My mom felt the tension between the both of us. My children felt it as well. And at the time, Faith started moving. Like I could start, I felt her moving around in my stomach. And I told Christopher, I said, "Look," I said, "put your hand on my stomach." I said, "Can you feel her move?" He said, "No." When you're pregnant, you always think that your spouse is going to be super supportive and be super excited that you're pregnant and bringing a life into this world for him, right? But I didn't get that. I didn't get that support that I needed. So we had a conversation my mom brought up between Christopher, myself, and her. And she had said, "Do you not want Faith? Like, do you not want this baby?" And Christopher stated to my mom he wasn't happy. And he said, "What if one of them dies? What if Faith dies or Nina dies on the table or when she's having this baby?" Like my mom said, "Don't talk like that. Like, why are you talking like that? They're still here." So we left again after a couple days. We came home to Albuquerque, and still I tried working it out where we were at, but it just wasn't working. I wanted out. And I had Faith on my own. Christopher called the hospital. I told him on June 1st that I got admitted into the hospital. And Faith arrived like at June 2nd, like about 3 or 4 in the morning. And he kept calling the hospital and saying that my wife is in labor, she's there. But Christopher was just so rude and hateful and he wasn't even there. So then he arrived a couple days later after I had Faith. And he was, the doctors and the nurses there were on high alert due to the fact that they heard Christopher over the phone on how he was being disrespectful to the nurses that were on call that night, as I was waiting to have her. And I asked that they not give him any more information. So he arrived. I had Faith. He arrived a couple days later, like I said. And you could just tell the look on his face, like he wasn't happy at all. Like, didn't say, "Hey, you did a good job." Didn't say, "I'm so happy that you brought my daughter into this world." Like nothing. And I remember my sister was holding Faith, and she had to ask Chris, "Do you want to hold her?" He said, "I guess." So she handed her over to Chris. And he stayed there with me for a couple more days because I had a C-section. And on one of the occasions, I can't recall what was happening, but he was raising his voice and he was talking to me very disrespectful in front of one of the nurses. And she had told him, look, she just brought life into this world. She just got major surgery and you're yelling at her. And I have a problem with that. She said, if you continue to do this, I'm going to have to tell social services to come down here. And I'm also going to have to ask you to leave the hospital and not return. So at that point in time, he kind of calmed down after he heard that. But unfortunately, that didn't last very long. He continued to do that. So social services at the hospital was told to come down. And he was pretty much, she said, you can't do that here. And she was really concerned for my well-being at the time and also Faith's, because, here is Christopher, dictating and telling me what I can and can't do and telling the nurses to do their job correctly and all these other things and raising his voice at me. And, so they had to step in. And so she said, this is it. Like, you're going to have to.
Okay, so sad. It's very sad. I mean, it's just, even in a, allegedly, even in a hospital, there's no alleged control over behavior. And again, I'm going to compare this to why we're here tonight. Imagine being 15 and having it directed at you in half his size. Look how upset Nina is. Imagine what it did to Sebastian. So, yeah. Disrespectful, voice raising, dictating what she can and cannot do. Those are traits, those are patterns. They didn't end with Nina, in my opinion, if they occurred allegedly. But those are patterns, normal patterns. Let's go ahead and continue. Thank you so much, everyone. If you've come in and I haven't said hi, hello, happy Tuesday, election night. It is, I told you I'd give you the update. It is 177 electoral votes for Trump, 99 for Harris currently. Harris has taken Vermont, New York, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Illinois. Trump has taken North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida. That is our update for right now. And I will see you in about 10 minutes. I'm going to let y'all go for about 10 minutes. If there's any issue, I'll pop in 10 minutes. Or
Leave the premises, and and he got a little upset and he's like, no, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna be good. So they said, okay, but we're watching you. So after that, we had left. They discharged all of us from the hospital, and he didn't want to stay at my parents' house because My mom and dad live in a trailer, and he doesn't like that. It's a house, right? Still. So he rented a room at Kirtland Air Force Base, and they have like lodging there, which is like a house, old base housing, and we ended up getting one of those. And we stayed there for a while. I remember one night in particular where we all had went out and got something to eat to bring it back to the room. I had went into the restroom, I believe that's where I was at, and Faith was in her car seat, and my oldest daughter was in the living room with my son and Christopher. Well, anyways, I guess I wasn't moving fast enough for Christopher, but the baby started crying. Faith started crying. And, she's crying, and I'm trying to get to her as fast as I can. And when she was in the car seat, my oldest daughter at the time witnessed this with my 3-year-old son. When she was in the car seat, he ended up hitting the car seat against the wall. And he's getting upset because she's crying. And then when she was in her car seat, there was a coffee table right there, and he ended up tossing her on the coffee table with the car seat because he was so irate that she was crying. And I said, hey, what's your problem? I said, what are you doing? Like, she's a baby. She's going to cry. I wish I would have just... I wish I would have never met him. I'm sorry. I should have left a long time ago, because no children ever deserve this. My kids didn't. So he left again to San Diego. A couple of days went by. Then all of a sudden he's like, well, why don't you move to Hendersonville? And I was like, why though? In my head, and I knew it was a bad idea. I just knew it. I knew it because our marriage was on the rocks. I wasn't happy. He wasn't a good father figure to my children. I don't know why I said yes. Well, anyways, so let me back up. So before he left back to San Diego, Faith ended up going back into the NICU. She ended up getting jaundice, and she went back to the NICU. So she was in the NICU, I want to say, for a week to a week and a half. And that was when Kathy, Chris's mother, came out, flew down with her brother, Duran Guy, or they call him Big D. They came down, and she was in the NICU. And that was when I felt like a plan was made, because like I said, our marriages it was on the rocks. And one of my neighbors had told me in San Diego, they had warned me. They had said, Dina, be careful, because Christopher is coming up with a plan with his mother. And they're planning on taking the baby away from you. And I was like, what? Like, thinking to myself, it can't be true from somebody that's supposed to love you, right? Like somebody that you're supposed to share your life with. Like, why would he want to take the baby away from me? And she warned me. But I was like, no, why would they do that? So then after Faith got out of the NICU, we were no longer staying in base housing. We were staying at one of the NBC suites down here. Then his mom came up with an idea. She goes, well, since you guys, will be moving to Hendersonville. And I was like, I felt like, okay, well, maybe. And he's like, well, you'll get help. You're going to get help from my family. And, but I was already getting help here from my parents, with my other two children that they helped me raise. So that I went along with it. Like I said earlier, even though I knew it was wrong to go, I still went hoping that my marriage would work out. So she ended up taking Faith, although I was against it. Kathy Bowers Hawks and her brother Duran ended up taking Faith. And my mom and dad were like, my mom started crying. She goes, why are you letting them take the baby? And I said, because Christopher said that it's going to be too hard for her to travel, to travel. And I'm sorry. They went back. So Kathy and Big D went back to Tennessee. So 2 weeks later, about 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later, Kathy ended up coming back by herself. I do apologize. She came back by herself to pick up Faith. She was here in Albuquerque for one night, and I was, even though I was against it, I let her go with Kathy, because Christopher said it was going to be too hard to travel with her being a new baby. So he came out from San Diego, rented a U-Haul, packed all our stuff, and we pretty much left. And that's how I ended up in Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Okay, there was a lot in there, wasn't there? So the neighbor told her, watch out, because he and his mother are making a plan to take the baby away from you. That's important. So he and his mom allegedly made a plan together. Right? I wish she had never gone to Hendersonville. But when you're in situations, sometimes you just don't see it like others. Hindsight's easy, right? Right, hindsight? Thank you for being in here, by the way. Yes, I agree. I agree, Barb. Intimidating. Yes, yes. Okay. Another thing, just the tossing of the baby onto the table when she was crying. That's alarming, right? We've heard it before, but it's alarming. What else did she say? So Kate, his mother came and picked. Yes, I agree, Freebird. His mother came and picked the baby up and took her, and she traveled back with CP because Stepfoot CP said it'd be too hard to travel with the baby. So let's get back to it.
That's when my whole life changed.
Please hit that like button. Thank you.
My nightmare happened. We lived with his mother and his stepfather, Terry, for about a good month. because our apartment wasn't going to be ready until the end of August, about the end of August. So it was really uncomfortable living there. You know, Terry and Kathy would always bicker at each other, and she'd be bickering with Christopher. And, you know, my kids were a problem, an issue. It was always something. I felt really uncomfortable and I wanted to come home. I just wanted to come home to everything that I knew. I wanted my mom and my dad, even though I was a grown woman, I needed that. So we all had to get along, tried to for the most part, but it was just an awkward situation. I always felt like we were the outcast. Never felt accepted by the Proudfits or the Bowersocks. On one occasion, Christopher was cutting my oldest daughter's nails, and she didn't want her nails cut. And Christopher, you know, grabbed a hold of her hand and she pulled her hand away. And my daughter at the time had braces. He backhand Isabel in the face and busted her whole lip open. I should have left, but I didn't. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't be here. I don't want to be here anymore. So I would come up with every excuse just to come home, but yet, you know, I couldn't come home. So finally we went and we moved into the apartment. And a phone call, like as soon as Christopher was leaving, he settled us in, got a storage unit of what couldn't fit in the apartment. He got everything ready, all right? Him and his family. As soon as he knew that we were comfortable, he left back to San Diego. But the night prior to him leaving, he had got a phone call or text message that night, and it said something like, hey baby, or around something like that, saying that when is your flight coming in? And I was like, what? Like, who's texting him? So I did confront him. And like he said on one of the podcasts, is that I did slap him. Yes, I did slap him across the face, because who's he talking to at this time and saying, and he could say that she was lesbian, up and down, but at this point in time, I didn't know what to believe. And I was like, okay. So then after that following day, he finally left. His mother came to pick him up to take him to the airport. And he went back to San Diego. And I was left in Hendersonville with 3 children and pretty much no help from anybody. So I have found a job. I had a job, and Kathy helped once in a while. And I needed to find a babysitter. So his biological father, Michael, and his stepmother, Linda, at that point in time, offered their services and said that, they can take care of my 2 older children. And Kathy didn't want Faith going over to Michael's house. So she took care of her. And at that point in time, Christopher, we were still communicating. And like I said, our relationship, our marriage was on the rocks. So my oldest daughter had gotten sick and she has upper respiratory issues. So I took her to the emergency room in Hendersonville, and that's when Hendersonville transferred her to Vanderbilt. Is that what I believe that hospital's name is? And I was kind of frantic because I was like, well, what am I going to do with my 3-year-old son and with the baby? Like, who's going to help me? So I was, I called Chris and I told him, I said, hey, I said, can your mom watch, Faith, or can somebody help me? Everybody was so quick to help me at that point in time. So Faith stayed with Kathy and Noah Bryce went with his sister, Melissa. And I went with my oldest daughter. We got transported downtown. And so we stayed there. I can't recall how many days we were there. And Christopher had, I'd check on the kids, see how they were doing. And that point in time, I was like, okay, well, we got discharged, telling everybody, okay, you can bring Noah back, and telling Kathy, okay, I'm going to be home so you can bring Faith back. Thinking that my children were going to come home to me. I get back to the apartment complex and I pulled into the parking lot and I see Melissa just pulled in right next to me. It seems like they were already there waiting for me to get there. And then she said, I can't stay. I would love to stay, but I can't stay because I don't know what they were doing. And she does, my son gets out of her van. And then we walk inside and I was waiting, for Faith to get there. And we weren't there but less than maybe 5 minutes. And I hear a knock at the door. And I was like, oh, great, Faith is home. And it was Kathy's friend, Patty, that's an attorney. And she said, called me by my real name, Gomez? And I was like, yeah. And she said, you've been served. She said, you have a protection order against you. You can't see Faith. And Chris is filing for divorce. And I was like, what? So then I go back, and thinking like my heart just drops. Like, what? Like, is this a dream? Like, this can't be happening to me. Like, this cannot be happening to me right now. So then I get on the phone and I try calling Chris and he didn't answer. And then I was like, rushing around and I get my kids in the truck and I go to the Gallatin police department and I, was ringing the call button. And finally 30 minutes later, somebody shows up and I told them what happened and I showed them the paper and they said, yep, we can't help you. All I can think about is my baby. Like, how am I going to get my baby back? Like, why is this happening to me? So I go to Kathy's house and I knock on the door And I remember I had Christopher's stepmom, Linda, on the phone with me. She was on speakerphone, and I told her what was going on. Little did I know everybody was in on this. And Terry answered the door, which is Chris's stepfather. And he told me that I need to get off of his fucking property. And here little Noah, who's 3 years old, and my Isabella is 7. And they're standing behind me. And I said, please tell me what's going on. I said, where's Faith? I said, please give me my baby back. And he told me, get off my fucking property. And he took out a green and black baseball bat. And he told me to fucking leave or he's gonna bash me and my kids' heads.
In my opinion, that's
So me and my kids walked out to my truck. And we got back in it. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? This is a nightmare. What am I gonna do? And Chris was inside of the house with the baby. I saw his shadow. And they lied for him and they said that he was in California and he really wasn't. So we go back to the apartment and I'm trying to gather all my thoughts together. I'm trying to keep as calm as I can for my other 2 children, but all I could do is just cry and just think, like, what is my next move? What am I gonna do now? I'm so far away from home. I'm far away from my parents. I'm far away from everything that I've ever known. So then I make a call to my brother, who he lives in Phoenix. And I told him what was going on, and he was so upset. And he's like, oh my God. And he's like, have you called mom and dad yet? And I said, no. And he told me himself that day, he said, you're going to fight. You're going to fight like hell to get Faith back. You don't leave that baby in that state. You fight like hell to get her back, whatever it takes. And that's what I did. I called my mom and dad. And it had to have been after midnight here, so about like 1 something our time there. My dad answered the phone. And I couldn't talk. All I could do is cry. I couldn't get the words out. And finally he said, calm down. Please calm down and tell me what happened. And I told him, I said, Daddy, they did my baby. And all he could get out is, oh no, they hurt my baby. And he started crying. And he woke my mom up. And he said, you hang in there, we're on our way. So every single day, I worked at a local Great Flips out there. And I went in from the time it opened to the time it closed. That following morning.
So that right in there, in my opinion, that story is very concerning about where she says everyone was in on this, allegedly, in my opinion, her story, and that T step socks, his behavior, that just really think about that with your children with you, allegedly. I mean, that's just really, so let's, when we think about motive, means, and opportunity, that to me shows means of how allegedly this family works together to do things, in my opinion, allegedly. Okay. Just want to check in because that was a lot. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Justice Jane, everyone else who's come in, thank you.
Morning after all this had happened, I went to my bank account and to my savings. I've been saving money through this whole entire time, but I've been using it since we were out there so I can help support my kids and myself. But little did I know that Christopher wanted me to use all my money because he didn't want me to have anything, so I wouldn't retain a lawyer. So that morning before I went to work and dropped my kids off, at the time, Michael and Linda, which is Christopher's biological father, and his stepmother were still helping me watch my kids because I still had to work. And I went into my bank account and I remember I only had $1,100 in there. And I was looking through the phone book or looking through, my phone and seeing, well, I need to get a lawyer. Who can I get? Thank God for Mr. Edwards, because I went into his office before, I called into work that day pretty much, and I said, I need to just think. I said, I need a day off. So I went into his office and I ended up doing a consultation with him. And I remember him, he told me what his fees were, and he told me, I told him the situation. And he was in shock, and he goes, my God, he goes, this all happened? Like, you should have never came out here. And I said, I know, I should have never came out here. So at the time, I explained the situation to Mr. Edwards, and I was crying. And I said, Mr. Edwards, I said, I just want my baby back. And then I remember I still had my wedding ring on at that point in time. And I slipped off my wedding ring and I sat it on his desk. And he looks at me and I said, please, sir, I would do anything just for my baby back. He said, you're all I have. Please help me. I remember he took out his little magnifying glass and he looked at it and he put his head down. And he goes, God. He goes, I work for money. I said, and I know, sir. I said, and I promise I will pay you every dime that I can. Just help me bring my baby home. And he said, You got yourself a lawyer. And he fought. He fought like hell for Faith. We went to, everything happened in Gallatin Courthouse. My parents were there. We went to the first trial, and I remember walking in the courthouse and my stomach was turning. I hadn't seen my baby. And they had my baby there. Just in arm's reach, and I couldn't even hold her, and I couldn't even kiss her, and I couldn't even tell her I love her. So we went to trial. I don't know what you want to call it, a trial, a hearing. I think I was just so oblivious to everything at that point because I was so heartbroken that my baby was gone. And we go into the courtroom, and all I had was my dad in there. And their side, all the benches filled up with his family being loud and laughing. And it was just my daddy and me and Mr. Edward. And I remember the judge, his attorney, just everybody in there. All the hurtful things that they put on black and white about me. Just the eyes glaring at me and making it seem like I was a bad person. And I sat there. And he asked me a couple of questions, and I answered. One of them was, "Why did you move out here, Miss Broadfoot?" I said, "Your Honor, to try to make my marriage work," said, in which it didn't. I said, "I made a mistake by coming out here. I made a mistake by trusting somebody. And I said, if I could change back the hands of time, I probably wouldn't have even came out here." And they did whatever they were doing, and then the judge, said that I only had visitation with Faith, and they all had to be supervised. So then the supervised visitations started happening, and we would visit Faith. And I remember one visitation that had happened at a park. I can't recall the park's name, but there was a duck pond and really nice playground for the kids. And I remember Kathy showing up with Faith. And we all sat there, got Faith out of the car seat. I was slamming on her and kissing her, and telling her how much I love her, how much we missed her. And I handed her to her big sister. And I took a picture of those two. And my oldest daughter was crying. We only had about, I believe it was between 20 and 30 minutes of visitation with Faith once a week, if I'm right. There's a lot of things that after so many years, it's hard. Like, I would just remember like the big things that happened, and that was one of them. It was between 20 and 30 minutes. And my son was there. And then Kathy got her ready to leave. They had to leave first, and then we left after. I remember holding my son and my daughter's hand, and we were walking back to my vehicle. And my son started crying. And I started crying, and then my daughter started crying. And he said, "Mama, I'm gonna run super fast, Mama. I'm gonna go grab Faith, and you meet me on the other side of the park, Mama. I'm gonna run so fast, and then you drive off, Mama." The pain that Christopher and his family has brought to my family is pain that we'll never forget. Pain that we live with every single day of our lives. And I remember that very clear. And we went home. We had another trial a couple weeks later. Was I believe, I want to say it was in maybe November, either in October or November. I can't recall the date. But at that trial, I was praying to God and to my God that we were going to bring Faith home. And we went to that courthouse, and with my mom and dad and Isabella and Noah. At this point in time, my mom was going to testify against Christopher. My daughter was going to testify against Christopher. And they had said, his lawyer at the time had said, don't let her daughter testify. And so we went without it, nobody testifying that day. Christopher had ended up getting, he was talking at the time. Judge was asking him all kinds of questions. And he made me look like a monster. He made me look like I was the problem. he made me feel awful about myself and saying all these things in front of these people that weren't even true. It wasn't even true. And then it came to my attorney talking. And at that point in time, I was just like, gosh, like, oh God, please let a miracle. Just like, let this just be over with. When people tell lies and when they say hurtful things about you, you just feel so disgusting about yourself. And that's the way I felt. And I remember we needed to break and come back. And Mr. Edwards at that point in time went into the chambers with the judge. And I don't know what was being said, being done back there, but he was in there for a while. And he ended up coming back out. Court was back in session. Everything was, we were going back and forth again. And at some point in time, the judge just had enough. The judge was done hearing everything that had happened. And Christopher, was speaking, and the judge just said, that's enough. Like, I don't want to even hear what you have to say anymore. He's like, you premeditated this. This was premeditated. You knew exactly what you and your family were doing. You brought this woman out here with her children, and you guys knew exactly what you were doing. And he said, 8:30, Gallatin's Sheriff's Department, that's where the exchange is going to happen. My heart just dropped, like, and my attorney looks at me and he said, you just won. You won. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to hit my knees, and all I could think about is, I couldn't wait to wrap my arms around my baby again. And the judge, everybody was hysterical on his side, of course, and my daughter and my mom were waiting out there. And I remember his uncle going out there, and he swung open the door, and he was so angry. And my daughter overheard him say, she won. She won. And I remember my dad was still sitting behind me, and and he had tears in his eyes, and he's like, let's go. And my attorney followed me outside, and we went out, and there was just so much chaos coming from the Proudfoots. And we went outside very humbly, and he took us in back of the courthouse the other way. And right there and then I hit my knees. I finally could be relieved, like a big, oh my God, we did this. And he said, 8:30, go pick her up. I said, thank you, Mr. Edwards. I said, I owe you my life to you helped me get my baby back. So then we went back to our truck, and we went back to the apartment. We packed what we could, and we pretty much left everything else behind in the storage unit. At that time, I didn't need anything. because I had everything I've ever wanted.
Wow. Very, very. I'm glad she got him. Mm-hmm. Yes. And Yada, you also said about the control and the manipulation, allegedly, in your opinion. And I totally agree, in my opinion. It's important to go back and look and see how much certain things can ring a bell now, right? It is heartbreaking, Joanne McNeil. I agree. Good night, Ginger girl. We'll be thinking about you, praying for you. Hi, Sonia Watanabe. I hope I said that right. Okay. Got it. Definitely a pattern. I agree, Cinderella. Cinderella. I agree. I know that's just, yes, I just saw one I was going to put out there. Hi, Alley Cat. Welcome into everyone who's here. We are listening to Nina, Sebastian's stepfoot's ex-wife, who shares a child with him. We are about an hour in. Everyone need to go get a snack? I can wait a minute. Okay, is everyone good? I'm behind in the comments. Hold on, let me get down there. It does. I listened to it when it first came out, and I don't know who originally did this interview. Um, yes, yes. Okay. Welcome to the family. Oh, Jennifer Benners, if you are so, that is so nice. Thank you so much. Gifted 10 Crime Time Buzz memberships, and if you receive one, be sure to tell Jennifer thank you. Jennifer, that's so great. Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support to the community. Welcome to the family, whoever gets a membership. Thank you. Okay, we're going to keep going because we have about an hour left. Is everyone okay? Oh, here we go, Jennifer. Jackie Taylor got one, says thank you. Same story, different person. Yes, that's why it's so important we watch this again. Now that we know what we know and we've watched what we've watched and we've heard what we've heard and haven't seen certain things that we thought we'd be seeing. So, okay, thank you. Original credit to Trevor Lee. Could someone drop that link? Thank you. Oh, got it. Yeah, you are very likely, in my opinion, correct, Yada. Yada, we have hope now, though, right? There's some hope, there's movement. Gonna bring him home. Everyone say it. Bring him home. Hi, Lady for Justice. You know, many do. You're not alone. You are not alone. Hi, Darlene. Okay, we are going to keep going. Thank you again, Jennifer. Welcome to the family. all my members. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to my subscribers. If you're visiting, welcome in. Hit that subscribe and join us. We're drama free. We are here for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers tonight. Okay, let's keep going.
So I remember my dad saying, "Come on, we gotta go." So we went to the sheriff's department, and we showed up. And I remember I told my dad, I said, "Wait here." I said, "Stay at that Wendy's." So my dad stayed at that Wendy's waiting for me, and he said, "Okay." He's like, "You call me when you're on your way so I can follow you out, okay?" And I said, "Okay, Dad." We got to the sheriff's department. Christopher and his Michael, Linda, Kathy, Big D, Melissa, his whole entire family was there. So then the exchange was happening, and they live streamed me on Facebook. They said, "I can't believe the judge awarded her custody." You know, and I was just standing there, I remember, and I said, "Can I have my baby back, please?" And I remember his mother had her phone in her hand, or his mother, yes, and she had a brown paper sack full of diapers and a dirty bottle. And she threw it at me, and she said, "I think you're gonna need this," laughing. Then I said, "Thank you." And my two younger children were sitting in the back. And then I said, "Okay, can I have Faith back now?" So I forget if it was Kathy or Chris, but they tossed her at me, and I caught her. And I said, "Thank you." So then I get her in her car seat, trying to buckle her up and telling my kids, I said, "You need to buckle up." I said, "Okay, we're going to leave." I remember at the time, my front door had opened at that time, and Christopher got inside of my driver's seat of my truck. And everybody was still filming, live streaming me on Facebook. And Melissa Proudfoot had said, "Why don't you put it in reverse and drive over her?" And I told my kids, I said, "Get out. I'm trying to get Faith out again." And I told my kids, and I remember he put the truck in reverse. And I told my kids, I said, "Get out." I said, "Jump, get out." And I remember them getting out as fast as they could. And we're running into the sheriff's department, and I had Faith, and I'm running, and I'm yelling, and I'm asking for help. I said, "Somebody please help me." Nobody came out. And then finally, he came in, Christopher, behind me. And they finally opened the door. and they put me in a back room with my kids. They turned the lights off on us. In the process of me calling my attorney to tell him what was going on, Kathy disconnected my cell phone. And I remember Mr. Edwards calling the police department and telling them they need to let me go. And at the time, Christopher was still in the military. And Mr. Edwards, I remember them telling him, you know, she needs to go, because this could possibly cause Mr. Proudfoot his career. So at that point in time, I got escorted outside by a couple of sheriffs that were there. They seemed like they knew each other, all of them, the Proudfoots. And I remember Christopher had asked one of the sheriffs if he could say goodbye to Faith, and I said, absolutely not. So I remember getting in my truck after I got the kids in, and I called my dad and I told him what happened. He was so mad. He goes, he was lucky I wasn't there. I'd have knocked the shit out of him. So I said, all right, Dad, I'm coming. Well, everybody followed me down the interstate. My dad and I were weaving in and out of traffic, trying to lose them. The whole family were following me and Dad about 80, 90 miles an hour. We were going down the interstate just to get away from them. We drove all night. We finally got to Little Rock, Arkansas. And Dad had asked me, are you tired? So I could see if I could try to sleep.
That's my question too, Cinderella.
We couldn't sleep. So then we drove all the way home. We were all scared. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We drove. The relief that I had just to see, I've never felt so relieved to see that New Mexico. Welcome to New Mexico sign. I was finally home. Finally, we made it. Chris kept calling, and I avoided him like a plague. Because the judge in Tennessee awarded me custody. He had no jurisdiction over Faith or myself or my other 2 children. And at the time of all this, they brought CPS involved in that case over there. So we get home here, not even a couple days goes by. He ended up calling CPS on us here. And using CPS against me every chance that he got. Showing up to my kids at school. Scaring my kids. just like he did in Tennessee. So I filed for divorce here, which I should have filed on tribal land at the time, because I wouldn't be going through this. So the divorce happened, but it dragged on and on and on because Christopher made a big deal about absolutely everything. I had to ask for permission to leave Bernalillo County. I had to tell him what I was doing, and if I left New Mexico, he had to know. I am part Native American, so our reservation is probably about 4 to 5 hours from Albuquerque, and at the time, my grandmother was still alive, so we would go out there to see her, and he really never wanted me to take Faith out there. And on top of that, he really never wanted Faith
Very
to
true.
be Native American.
Second generation construction.
Christopher knew that I was Mexican American and also Native American, but he hated the fact that, and he still hates the fact that Faith is part Native American. So just everything. He would take me back to court for just everything. It wasn't a good divorce. And the parenting plans, it had to be his way or nobody's way. He had to have the last word, and this is what he wanted, and his attorney made sure that's exactly what he got. A lot of times I gave in because I wanted it to be over. I didn't want to have to or have somebody dictate what I can and can't do. I mean, I've been a mother for an X amount of years at this time, and it wasn't like, I'm new to all this. But everything had always had to have been Christopher's way. And even though I gave him what he wanted, it was something different. Oh, Faith can't wear leggings, or, just the stupidest things, or, it was dumb. I can't even recall how many hearings I went to with Christopher. It's been horrible. So at this point in time, I didn't really agree to the parenting plan. I didn't like it, but I signed it anyways, just because I wanted it to be over with. The divorce was finally final. And he was still stationed, I believe, in San Diego at this point in time. He was, if I'm correct, he was already living with Katie when we were still married. We were going through the divorce, but he had moved in with her. And I was pretty surprised how fast he moved on with his life. Like we never mattered. Like Faith was, like, he never had a family. But I should have known that as well prior to the marriages before me, like how he just moved on so quickly with his life. So he would take Faith out there when she was little, like for 2 weeks or a week. And, Katie and them would be living the family life. I, at the time, did not know Sebastian or Katie. I would just see Katie through FaceTime, where she would be doing something in the background. And I would ask Christopher, like, I would tell him, I can't believe she's moved on with your life so quick. Like who does that? Well, back and forth we would be going, with Faith. And I finally moved on with my life. But Christopher had made a statement the other night on one of the interviews, the podcasts that he was doing, and I didn't like the way he said this. You know how he didn't. He called Nina moved in with a man. Like, he knows this person's name. And he deserves to be called his name, not the man. And remind you, I've known Wayne for over 3.5 years. He was my client before we even got exclusive, like being in a relationship, before we even moved in together. He knew I had children. I mean, just so for him to sit there and say that, he basically made it sound like he didn't know this person. He does. So here we are.
I'm going to pause it there for a second. What couldn't you understand? Yes, she is beautiful. Oh, you can't understand me when I talk when the video's on. Okay. I said, thank you for letting me know. I'm going to give an update to Poppy Love and those who have come in who didn't have an update from what happened today. Hello, wait, what? So today, yesterday, they said that that they were in Oregon and New York as far as investigating in Oregon and New York, that they believe that their informants were valid. And then today it was released by At Night that, oh, and they raised the reward to 175,000. Well, today, here's a message from At Night Intelligence Agency. After reviewing a tip deemed credible and originating from Oregon, we have expedited our efforts to thoroughly investigate this lead. Oregon. We have confirmed the presence of at least 2 individuals in Oregon connected to the investigation who will remain unnamed at this time. We do not know if they mean suspects. We do not know if they mean eyewitnesses. We do know, allegedly, from the records request, there's an eyewitness in Oregon who allegedly saw the stepfoots at Ford Pond in Sutherland, Oregon. So they are expediting their efforts. They have confirmed the presence of at least 2 individuals in Oregon connected to the investigation. It could be someone with knowledge. It could be someone who's aided. It could be, we don't know. But I certainly hope. I'm very, very hopeful regarding this. I'm very, very hopeful. Okay, guys, I won't talk anymore when it's running. I'm not sure. May have. May have. I don't know. Correct. No. No. They are involved in crimes. Okay. Any other questions about updates or anything before we get back to it? I don't believe, were they Navy SEALs? I believe they were just in the Navy, correct? Of course, Poppy Love. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for asking. So we are going to get to it. Yes, I'm very glad that she is in New Mexico. In my opinion, it's the best thing, from hearing this, and that she has her parents around her. Okay, I'm going to go back and turn it on. Hello to everyone. If I haven't greeted you, hi, Mark Klein. I haven't greeted you, couponing. Anyone else? Welcome in. I'm going to go back to the video.
Our Faith is 6. I'm still living in this nightmare that he's created. We live in fear every single day. We're constantly watching over our backs. My kids don't even know what a normal childhood should feel like, because they were exposed to all this at a very young age. The awful things that other people could do. My oldest daughter said it best. She said, "Mom, I feel like I was robbed of my childhood because of Chris." Because of everything that he's done. I've had to grow up so quick to protect my siblings. And you protecting us and always living in fear. Being called to the office and wondering if Child Protective Services was there. She's 15 now and still hates to go to the office because of everything that he's done and his family has done. I feel helpless because I feel like I can't protect them enough. And I wish there was more that I can do. We're still living in this nightmare. We're still going to court. He still complains about everything when it's not his way. In the beginning, there was CPS called. He used Child Protective Service on me because of the divorce, to get my children taken away from me. He has a friend that works at Albuquerque Police Department as well. That I don't know if he still keeps in contact with him. I believe so. He was told to do a welfare check on us one night, but he didn't take the call, probably because he knew both of us. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know how that would have been used against him either, I guess. Maybe he was worried about that. Just, he's been filing for full custody, Christopher, for about a year to 2 years now, if I recall. A lot of this stuff is just, it doesn't make sense to me. He's made a mess. He tells people that I'm unstable, that I need a psychiatric evaluation, that I'm, that I'm pretty much crazy. It's been a nightmare. And the recent one, why he's pushing for full custody, is because I moved Faith out of Bosque Farms Elementary to a Native American academy in Albuquerque. where my youngest son goes and my oldest daughter goes down the street at to a high school, and it's a minute away. So I was trying to make the commute easier for all of us. All my kids are in curricular activities. My son's in football. My Faith cheers for her brother's Yaffle football team. So practice. My two older girls are in Mexican folk dancing, Faith and her older sister are in Mexican folk dancing. My children are in 4-H. So my kids are super busy, and I work in the city as well. So trying to make my life easier, I decided to put her there, and he did not like that, him and his attorney. So they're pushing for full custody about that. I mean, I can't even recall how many other nonsense issues have been brought up. My children, myself, I mean, I'm over it. I'm tired. This has worn my whole entire family down, my children, myself. All this is like the first thing I think of when I wake up, and the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. There's no words to explain this feeling. I mean, and on top of that, we were supposed to go to trial March 5th, I believe it was. March 5th. And the first one, March 5th. I went to court January 2nd of 2024. Continuing cases, I had to pay for his attorney fees because I pulled Faith out of Bosque Farms. Although I contacted him through email, he never replied to me. I contacted my lawyer at the time, never replied to me. So what was I supposed to do? I mean, I had to do what was in best interest for Faith and everybody else. So I ended up paying the legal fee for Christopher because his lawyer complained about that. So then we went to trial. We got a date for trial. Boy, I was furious when I left my lawyer's office. I feel like I hire all these lawyers that never took the bat for Faith and listened to anything that I have ever said. I've always told people in the past, the people that were working for Faith and myself, the kind of person that Christopher really was. Nobody listened. I mean, he's hurt my children. He's hurt my son. He's backhanded my son as well and busted his nose open when he was 3 in the car seat in San Diego. He's did that to my daughter. He's hurt Faith in the car seat, like I said. It's fallen on dead ears. It's coming up on 7 years. Nobody listens to me. Nobody knows the pain that I've went through. Nobody knows that I live in fear. It's like back and forth. It's like a game to Christopher with Faith. Christopher dangles Faith over my head as if she's like some kind of toy to be played with. She's not a toy. She's a little girl that has feelings and strong feelings. We can't help the fact that Christopher decided to move to Tennessee. He chose that for himself. I've never known of a person that lives in a whole different state and still dictates what you can and can't do to the other parent. He had a choice to live here. He was actually told to move here. by the judge. But he lives in Tennessee. He tells me pretty much what I can and can't do still to this day by that court order. So going back to the trial, was getting prepared. And I get the call. You get a call. And at this point in time, you know, I'm not talking to Christopher. We don't, I want to make that loud and clear. We do not have a good co-parenting relationship. We don't talk on a regular basis. I refuse to talk to Christopher because everything has to be his way. I don't entertain any of his conversations. In the past, when I used to, and I thought that a relationship between him and I, and we're learning how to co-parent and it's good, it backfired. It kicked me in my ass. Everything that I told, he used against me in court all the time. Every single thing. So I had to learn not to trust him. I've had to, I don't talk to him. So for him to say on some of his podcasts is that we have good, parenting skills, or we know how to talk to, we don't know how to talk to each other. I refuse to communicate with this man. So he calls me that Wednesday, and he's like, and I was like, oh great, he's calling. So I just went straight to voicemail. And then he had said 911, call me. So then I was like, well, it must be emergency, so let me call him. I called him and I said, what's up, Chris? And he was like, he's like, Nina, I gotta tell you something. And I was like, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna tell me that the trial, we're not gonna go to trial, that everything is gonna be done with, and we don't need to worry, and we can, we don't need to do all this stuff. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. And then he tells me, I gotta be open and honest with you. And then he pauses like for 6 or 7 seconds, and I'm like, well, I was like, what? What do you have to tell me? So then at that point in time, he tells me that Sebastian went missing. And I was speechless. I have to say, I was speechless. And then I went into saying, well, what happened? Like, how did he go missing? Like, what happened? And he said, well, he went missing between 12:30 and 6 a.m. And I'm like, it's thinking to myself, and then, that's crazy. And I said, don't you have security cameras, Christopher? I said, you mean you have security cameras in your house? I mean, don't you? And he paused. He didn't say anything. So then I said, what happened to your dogs? I said, don't your dogs? They said, you have those Yorkies, and I said, every time that I call Faith, they said they're barking. He didn't say nothing. So I said, I said, are you lying to me? I said, because thinking in my head, like, are you just buying more time for this trial that's coming up? Like, what other information are you going to find out that you're going to use against me, right? So then I said, I'm going to look this up. And I said, have you contacted your lawyer yet? I mean, I said, we still have a trial. I said at 8:30 next Tuesday. And he had raised his voice at me and he said, we're not going. And I was like, don't raise your voice at me. You're not going to disrespect me like that. You're not going to raise your voice at me. So then I said, by law, I said, I have to contact my attorney. And I said, I'm going to email him as soon as I get off the phone with you. And I'm going to tell him that there's a missing child. And I had stated like, okay, well, is there like something, we could do? Can you send me like a flyer? Can you send me something? I said, I could put it on my social media and it'll take off. Like I have a lot of people that I know and a lot of my clientele. I said, we're willing to, they share a lot of my stuff. So he never sent me anything. And he was so worried about his phone, and he had said something. He's like, the fucking cops had my phone, and I had to call Faith, and I told him I had to fucking call my daughter. And I said, Christopher, I said, you need to calm down. I said, Faith is fine. She's with me. I'm her mother. I said, she was with her family here. I said, you don't need to worry about her. You don't need to worry about her whatsoever. And and he wanted to say more, and he repeated himself again, and he said, I need to be honest with you. And I was like, Christopher, I don't have time for this. I said, I just don't. I said, I gotta go. And that was it, the conversation that I had with him. I keep kind of beating myself up. Maybe I should have stayed on the phone a little bit longer. Maybe I should have let him talk. But with the experiences that I've had with Christopher in the past, I just couldn't trust him. So then
Okay, so hi everyone. He called her on Wednesday. So Sebastian was reported missing Monday. He called Nina on Wednesday, screamed at the top of his lungs that they weren't going next Tuesday, 6 days down the road. Allegedly, how would you know? He's not just going to walk back in the door if you thought he walked away, allegedly. So there's that. She has been through so much. He also told her he disappeared between 12:30 and 6. He didn't answer when she said, "Don't you have cameras inside your house?" No answer. "What about your Yorkies? Every time I call, they're always barking." No answer. So again, yes, please. Thank you, Lady Justice. Let's light it up green for Sebastian. Important, 2 people confirmed. 2 people in Oregon are connected to the investigation into the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. May this lead to this young man. May this lead to this young man. Bring him home. Bring him home. We've got about 38 more minutes, okay? Everyone good? You all okay? Get a snack, get a drink. Oh, that's sad, Cinderella. Okay, we'll get back to it. Back to the Nina file. Credit to missing in plain sight, full credit.
I contacted my attorney the next day and I told him what was going on with Sebastian. I mean, I was hoping that, and I keep hoping, and we're praying every single day for his return home. But the more and more days that had passed by, the more and more that I got, like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. Like, and the things that didn't make sense to me was why Christopher and Katie aren't looking for Sebastian. I don't know, but I know if one of my babies went missing, I'd be out there searching night and day. I don't know how somebody could just sit at home and just wait for your baby to return. When I'd be out there looking every single second, I'd be out there by horseback. I'd be out there by a golf cart, by whatever I can get my hands on to get into the forest and look, or wherever in these neighborhoods, wherever I could possibly go. I'd still be wearing the same clothes that my son or daughter went missing in. I'd be running on adrenaline. All I could think about is the time that happened to me when they took Faith from me. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even drink water. I lost so much weight. And I knew where my baby was at. And this hits home for us because of Faith. Faith's known Sebastian pretty much half of her life, or her whole entire life. I feel for Seth. I feel for his family, the Rogers family. I'm in shock. I can't believe this has happened. And Faith asks me, and she talks about Sebastian, and she asks me, Mama, are they gonna find him? And I tell her, yeah. I've talked to Seth on a parent-to-parent level. And we talked about some things that, we both, we shed some tears together, and just the pain in his voice. It hurts. But everybody, I feel like people now want to listen to me. People now want to hear my voice when I've been saying the hurtful things that were done to my children and to myself. Nobody wanted to listen to me before. And now that this baby is missing, you want to listen to me now? You want to ask me questions now? Like I just feel helpless. Like I don't know what to even think anymore. I see all these things that are being said and the things that people say, and they have every right to say that. They have every right to speculate. Just like I have. I've there's so many things that I've thought about in my head, but I mean, I've saw the things. I've sat back for a month literally and watched everything and followed every possible thing that I can, listen to what people have said, podcasts, like everything. And I needed for my voice and my story to be heard of my experiences with the Proudfoots and Christopher and Katie. Katie jumped on that bandwagon or that Christopher and everybody else was on. Just like this past December 27th, Faith was going out to Hendersonville to see her family for the holidays. We drove her to the airport. We were all happy. We all got out. Isabella, Noah, Wayne, myself, got her out of the truck and we said our goodbyes. We hugged her. We kissed her. There's Katie standing there recording everything like she always does. And I hug my baby tight. I tell her I love her. And we prayed. We asked God to keep Faith safe and bring her home safe to us. So as she went with Katie, I had somebody that Christopher, Katie, and his lawyer hired. His name is Michael Tinker. He served me with paper. And he tapped on my window and I just rolled it down. And he said, "Are you so-and-so Gomez?" I said, "Yes." "Why?" He said, "Because you've been served." And the first thing I thought of was, they're going to take Faith. I got out of that truck so fast and I ran into the airport. And I was yelling through the airport that she was going to kidnap Faith. Katie and Faith were standing at the Southwest counter. And I told them, I said, "She's going to kidnap my baby." I grabbed Faith on the left side of her hand and I ran with her through the airport. And all I could think about is, I got to get back to the truck. And here comes Wayne, Noah, and Isabel running through the airport just to come and see what was happening. And oh my God, my mom, like first thing she thought of was like, and Wayne thought was like, oh my God, Nina's gonna just lay her out. I ran by, and Katie was coming right up behind me, and the guy, Michael Tinker, he stood there trying to flag me down and still trying to serve me with paperwork. In that moment, I'm just thinking about, they're gonna take my baby and I'm never gonna see her again. So I got to the truck. I called APD. During the holiday season, APD is at the airport. So they came within like 5 minutes. Officer Cordova had showed up and was talking about asking questions like what was happening, and asked if I had a parenting plan on hand. And I'm like, wait, I mean, when I was just supposed to carry my parenting plan? I mean, and he said, is it his time sharing or yours? And I said, it's his. But I said, why am I being served? And still at this point, Michael Tinker was still trying to give me my paperwork and I wouldn't take it. So he got very upset, lifted up the windshield wipers and threw the paperwork right under there. At this point, my kids are crying. I'm crying hysterically. And there's Katie smiling away and recording everything. Then the officer's like, Ms. Gomez, you have a court date coming up. And if you don't want the judge to be upset with you, you need to let her go. So I get back out of the truck. And we all do. And I get down to Faith's level. And I tell her how much I love her. And that mommy's gonna always keep fighting for you. And don't ever for 1 second think that mommy does not love you. I hug her so tight. Because I don't know if that's the last time I was gonna see my baby. I handed her off to Katie. And she left. I could barely breathe when I got back in the truck. Trying to think about, what do I do now? What do I do if she doesn't come home? How am I gonna get her home? Faith stopped. And she looked at the truck driving away, and Wayne looked back, and she probably thought, is that the last time I'm gonna see my family? That whole day, my whole world was turned upside down. I thought about everything that played in my head like a movie. That day was hard. I came home and I curled up in a ball. I didn't want nobody to bother me because I'm thinking about how am I going to have enough money to get a lawyer or anything like that. So what they did was they hired that server to come and serve me with a court hearing that I already knew about. The one that was going to take place January 2nd. So Christopher's lawyer, Christopher, Katie, they all knew what they were doing. They premeditated this again. They wanted me to go crazy. They wanted me to say hurtful things so they can go back to the courthouse and to the judge and say that I was unstable, that I'm mentally, something's wrong. And that's what they did. Christopher and Katie and his attorney asked that I get evaluated by a psychiatric doctor. Because I ran through the airport saying that she was gonna kidnap her. But in my mind, I've been traumatized by Mr. Proudfoot and his family. And I brought back trauma. And now, I mean, we're at this point where poor Sebastian is missing. And everybody, you know, the judge and, you know, other people are telling me, don't talk about this issue in front of Faith. She's too young, she's traumatized. Christopher doesn't talk about that to her. He doesn't tell her that her stepbrother is missing. Not once has he said anything to her about it. I think Faith needs to be aware of what's happening. She did talk to Sebastian when she had FaceTimed Chris and he was at his house. She knows him. I really don't know what to say at this point. Like with Sebastian missing, and the situation with Faith, it's been an ongoing situation. I was unaware that Sebastian's father was getting him. I was unaware that he was going to live with his father permanently. Finally, that was disclosed to me about a week and a half ago. I was in shock because I went like, how can you know that you're getting your child for full custody? Like, I mean, you and Katie were preparing for this. You're giving away one kid to get another one. Like, I never understood that. I still don't understand that. I was in shock when I heard that, and I also, it's sickening to think that, and to think that you would be getting a child. Why would you take Faith away from everything that she knows? Her mom, her siblings. She calls Wayne dad. She says, that's my daddy, Wayne. Her grandparents, like everything. I don't, I was lost, and now the more and more I find out, it just makes my stomach turn even more. Like, going back to this court hearing that we had, we never got an extension on the restraining order. But I believe that we should have. I did, because I don't know what Christopher nor Katie or the Proudfoots are capable of doing. It's, for all I know, they could take Faith from school. I do right now have temporary full custody of Faith till we go back to court. I mean, I talked to Seth, and I've always told him, I reach out to him and I let him know, we're here, whatever you need, let us know how we can help you. But I remember him telling me the first night that I reached out to him, or he reached out to me, and he said, you can help Sebastian, and you can help me by keeping Faith there and keeping her safe. When you hear that from another parent and the situation that's going on, what do you say? Like, I'm doing the best that I can, but it's the justice system here. My biggest fear is that somebody's gonna make the wrong decision for Faith and she goes out there. And what am I gonna do? What if something like this happens to my baby? Are you gonna tell me I'm sorry, Miss Gomez? I made the wrong decision. The justice system has failed a lot of kids, has failed my kids, and it's also failed the question. I've been fighting this since Faith was a newborn, and I'm still fighting it. I don't know what it's gonna take. I don't really think anybody really cares the decisions that they make for children, because it's not happening in their personal family. They don't know somebody. It doesn't hit home. It'll never happen to them. A lot of these people always tell me, don't show your feelings in court. Don't be emotional. So I'm just supposed to sit there without feelings, without crying, without telling people how I really feel. I feel like a lot of these also, because there wasn't enough creamer in their coffee for, a lot of these judges that make these decisions, and maybe they got angry that morning or whatever the circumstances are. They make bad choices for a lot of these children. And I won't let Faith be one of them. I will always fight for Faith, like I have been. I wish people would open up their eyes and listen to when people are saying it's not a good idea. I don't think they're stable. I don't think that they're a healthy parent. Because look at what happened to Sebastian. And I feel for him because I'm a mom of a 15-year-old daughter. I hope and we pray every single day for his safe return. If there's anything that I would say to everybody is look out for one another, look out for your kids. And no relationship is worth your children's relationship at all. At all. So I believe I had to tell my story so it can get out there, because it still haunts me to this day. It haunts my children. It haunts our everyday life. We don't live a normal life. We're always living on the edge because of Mr. Proudfoot. I mean, his mother wanted to pay off the daycare, buy them some new playground equipment, just so Christopher and his mom can stay there longer to see Faith. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, my mind is all foggy right now because thinking about everything that I've went through, I'm sure I left some bits and pieces out. But I know what I've experienced, and it wasn't a good experience at all whatsoever. So that's our story.
And that is her story.
Hey everybody, Janine Chrissy here from Sebastian,
Whoops,
Florida.
hold on.
I came over to my car to make this video because
There we go. That's funny. That's the lady who made the post. We listened to her yesterday. Yes, shocking. You know what I was thinking about while we were listening to this is through all of this. Yes, Poppy Love, you are. Thank you for checking. Aw, thank you, Jennifer. He called him Mr. Chris, which has bothered me since I heard it. Because if you treat someone like your own child, in my opinion, does Faith call him Mr. Chris? Just allegedly, in my opinion, kind of want to know. So I want to believe he is with us as well until we hear differently. Of course, when we get little tips that take us in different places, sometimes we still have to look at them. I didn't know that. I find it alarming, in my opinion, that throughout this entire 8.5 months that I have heard, in my opinion, I have not heard one person have a good, positive reflection to say about Stepfoot's character and personality. It has all been negative. It has all been from alleged coworkers to alleged former coworkers to ex-wife, just in general what we've seen. Um, he's this is a lifelong nightmare, but most important for Nina. But most importantly, the reason we're looking at it is, in my opinion, we look at it from perspective of means, motive, means, and opportunity. Means, would this family allegedly, or a family allegedly that we're discussing, be capable to play that role of a disappearance? Something that allegedly, that's what we're theorizing on. And what she said when she said, it stood right out with me. I wrote it down. Hold on. Oh, darn it. She said, they're trying to take my baby away from me. And it was premeditated, in her opinion, and planned, in her opinion, from her story. And I believe her, in my opinion. I do. Okay. But you don't have to believe her. You make your own. And if you do believe her, that's wonderful. But I just think that it, to me, allegedly, it shows the means. It's not like we can sit here now and go, "Oh my gosh, that's outrageous," in my opinion. No family would do that. We've heard it. The Adelsons, that man's gone because divorce wasn't enough. They wanted full custody and the kids to live near them. Charges. Donna's still not on trial, but the brother was charged with murder. Sorry. So, and God's Misfits, I need to brush up on that case, but that was over custody. Now listen to Nina's story. So it gets, to me, it gets more disturbing every day we hear something different, new now. My stomach, just kind of falls a little bit because it's not like we're hearing, it's, we're hearing allegedly, in my opinion, that very likely this could have been planned, in my opinion. And I hope we find him very soon, because today's news that they have two people connected to the investigation that are in Oregon is very good news for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. It is time to bring him home. Let me finish through the comments before we go. Yeah, I can only imagine. Now, we don't know what connection means, but we do know from the records request we do know that there was a sighting. Allegedly, the lady thought she was, with almost absolute certainty, enough to go to the police station, that there was a sighting of the Stepfoots allegedly in March, first few weeks during a weekday at Ford's Pond in Sutherland, Oregon. We do know that. Okay. So two people connected. We don't know if they mean, are they including that eyewitness? Are, because they then said names, how did they put it? Names, we won't at this time be releasing names. Made me feel like it was kind of a more of a person of interest or a suspect. What do you guys think? Why should Sandra have her? Hold on, what's going on with Sandra? Let me see what's happening with Miss Sandra. Why are we worried for Miss Sandra? Oh, yeah. Well, everyone, I hope that this kind of put it in perspective that, what's been done in on Nina's story. It's a lot, right? Heartbreaking to listen to, and ongoing. So she's terrified, allegedly, in her opinion, for her child, for custody to go there, and her child, allegedly, something to happen. I mean, it's just heart wrenching, for Seth, Yada, Robin, all the above, and more, the whole Rogers family. Oh, hang it. Yes, you be careful. You be careful, and thank you so much for doing that. So I think we just saw and heard that it's not unbelievable, correct? In my opinion. Yes. So thank you so much for being here. My family members, my mods, my subscribers, my visitors. If you've enjoyed yourself, hit that like button, subscribe on your way out so you join us and don't miss anything true crime and Sebastian Rogers. Everyone good? I hope you all have a wonderful evening. I'm going to go watch the elections. Mine might have been a little behind. So Little Red Zero's got a more accurate ticker going. Thank you so much, Little Red Zero, for helping me correct that. God bless you too, Freebird, and blessings to all of you. Prayers up for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. May whoever is responsible come out wherever you are, because they are coming to get you. There's 175,000 reasons where you can skip real fast, but your time is running out. Thank you all for being here. I have watched the Lore Lodge. Yes, absolutely. Great videos. I think there were 3, right? Shelly NB, good to see you. Good to see all of you. And by the way, I want to say You're so positive and lovely. Honestly, thank you, wait, what? In the chat, and that means the world. It really does. It keeps us on Sebastian. We're allowed to disagree. We can, we don't have to battle with each other if we disagree. We can just not comment, right? And I love it. You all are amazing. Thank you for all the compliments. I am so glad you are enjoying the channel and the content. I am enjoying each and every one of you, and I will see you very soon. Good night to all. Good night, Sandra. Good night, everyone. Mods, thank you very much. Members, a special thank you to you as well. Good night, everyone.